She was still screaming when the cuffs snapped shut. Her voice cracked, half fury, half disbelief, like the world had finally, at long last, told her no. The sheriff didn't even bother to look at her when he said, "You're done, Mrs. Pellerin." And in that 1 second, seeing her pressed up against the hood of her own shiny silver SUV, with the HOA crest catching every flash of blue and red from the police lights, I understood. This fight wasn't about money or bridges or some set of bylaws. It was about power. And right then and there, she lost it for good. Funny thing is, I didn't come to Willow Creek looking for trouble. All I wanted was some quiet, you know? My place sat right on the line. On one side, a handful of old ranch houses where porches still smelled like wood smoke. On the other, the Riverbend View HOA, where lawns were cut to exactly 2.5 inches, and someone always seemed to be watching. You could see the border right there on the county map, like a scar running down the middle of the earth. I'd barely unpacked when it started. One morning, I opened my front door, and there they were, 2 people in matching khaki polos, standing like they were about to sell me eternal happiness or a new water heater. Both had folders, both had those stiff, polite smiles. The woman, her hair could stop a bullet. Her name tag said Karen Pellerin, HOA president. She was the one who talked first. "Welcome to the community, Mr. Malone. At Riverbend View, we want everyone to feel like family." And right there, that word, family, set off alarm bells in my head. I glanced over her shoulder, and sure enough, there was a silver SUV idling at the curb, HOA crest sparkling like a warning. "Appreciate the welcome," I said, "but I'm not part of Riverbend View." She didn't blink. The smile didn't change, but something in her voice got sharp. "Technically, no, but you do use our roads, our bridge, our amenities. It's just a formality." I handed back her brochure. "Then I'll stay informal." They left, but not before the guy gave me a look that said, "This isn't over." Next thing I know, their SUV is circling my street like a shark smelling blood. Then came the sticky note on my mailbox. "Your fence color may be non-compliant." The joke was, I didn't even have a fence. That's when I started my own folder. Not because I'm paranoid, but because I've lived long enough to know folks like Karen. The ones with soft smiles and iron fists. Then the storm hit. Georgia rained for 2 days straight, turned the roads to soup, snapped tree limbs like matchsticks. When the clouds finally cleared, the old wooden bridge connecting the 2 neighborhoods looked like it had been through a war. Railings were gone, boards cracked and splintered. Nobody's fault, just time doing what time does. So a few of us, my side and theirs, met up knee-deep in mud, looking at the wreckage. Berta, retired postal worker, sipped her coffee and said, "County'll slap a closed sign on it and call it a day." She wasn't wrong, so I said, "Or we fix it ourselves." And that's what we did. Hammered, patched, sweated together for a week. Folks threw in 20, $50. Hell, I gave 150. Caleb, a mechanic, brought his tools and a mouthful of words I wouldn't repeat to my mother. Even a teenager from the HOA side showed up to help. For a minute there, it felt like what a neighborhood should be. No ranks, no rules, just people helping people until she arrived. Karen in her silver SUV, stepping out like the queen, inspecting her subjects. 2 more HOA folks trailing her, holding clipboards like they were shields. She looked at us, looked at the bridge, and said, "I see you've made unapproved alterations to community infrastructure." Caleb just laughed. "Community owns this bridge," he said. Karen didn't flinch. Riverbend View contributed over $3,000 from our budget. I think it's fair to say we have a vested interest. She handed me a manila folder. Inside, a bunch of glossy pages and stamped logos, but not a single real contract. No signatures, just HOA wallpaper. I stared her down. There's no legal claim here. County owns the bridge. She smiled tighter. Verbal agreement implies consent. Berta shot back. Verbal agreement implies we're idiots. Karen left, lips thin. That night, a new sign appeared on the bridge, maintained by Riverbend View HOA. I didn't touch it yet, but I took pictures, printed off the county map, added it all to my folder. A week later, here comes the letter. Fat envelope, gold crest, language that sounded like The Godfather. As a direct beneficiary of the recently rehabilitated Riverbend Bridge, you are responsible for your share of annual maintenance. $2,200 due in 15 days. I laughed, then stopped laughing. Sent them a certified letter, professional, polite, quoting county records. 3 days after that, an email from a legal assistant named Todd. Your continued use of the bridge constitutes constructive participation under shared burden principles. In plain English, pay up, or we make your life hell. That's when I hired Dennis Fong, HOA Slayer, lawyer with a wolf smile. He read my folder, said they just stepped in it, fired off a cease and desist, demanded their legal basis. The reply: we disagree with your client's interpretation of the facts, which is lawyer speak for we're going to keep pushing. 2 weeks later, we're in court. Karen sat across from me, chin up, blazer pressed, so sharp you could cut yourself. She had 2 lawyers beside her who looked like they'd just left prom. Judge called for opening statements. Dennis was cool as a cucumber, almost bored. He laid out everything. How I was an HOA, how we all volunteered, how Karen's team faked invoices and stuck false ownership signs all over. Then he played the recording I'd made on my porch, Karen's voice, flat as winter ice. You use the bridge, so whether you like it or not, you're one of us. You'll pay eventually. They all do. Even the judge raised his eyebrows. Karen froze. Her smile slipped, and you could see real fear peeking out. Verdict? Riverbend View had no legal claim, and what they'd done was targeted harassment. They owed me $12,000 in damages. Walking out of that courtroom, I saw Karen's reflection in the glass. Face white as paper, jaw working like she'd just sucked a lemon. For 3 weeks, nothing. No letters, no SUVs. Silence. The kind of quiet that means a storm's brewing. Then, Friday evening, coming home after a brutal shift, thinking about nothing but a cold beer and leftovers, there it was. White van parked sideways on the bridge, 10 people in matching windbreakers, HOA operations stenciled on the back. 2 cars behind boxed me in. A guy with a goatee stepped forward, hand up like he's some sort of cop. Mr. Malone, we need to discuss the damage you've done to our association. I cracked my window an inch. What the hell is this? He didn't blink. Step out of the vehicle. And then, there's Karen, stepping out from behind, perfect hair, perfect sneer. You used the bridge, you benefited, that means you owe. And tonight, we collect. I reached for my phone, no signal. They'd chosen the one spot in the county with 0 bars. Another man slammed a fist on my window. Someone else started climbing on the hood, stomping. My heart was going nuts, but my head stayed clear. I leaned on the horn, one long, angry blast. Headlights flashed behind me, and then like something out of a movie, a battered Ford Ranger whipped around the curve, skidded to a stop inches from the van. Door flies open. Bob Shelton, 73, retired Marine, big as a refrigerator, voice like thunder. That's 3 felonies and 1 count of pure dumbassery. Sheriff's on his way. The HOA crowd froze, but Karen? She doubled down. This is a lawful community enforcement action. Bob just laughed. Lady, the only thing lawful here is your arrest warrant. Sirens in the distance. 2 cruisers came screaming in, deputies piling out. The goatee guy froze, clipboard halfway to his chest. Karen tried to talk, voice shaking. We were just mediating a dispute, but the deputy was already slapping cuffs on 3 of them. Charges: assault, unlawful detention, obstruction. Karen wasn't arrested that night, but the deputy looked her dead in the eye. You'll be hearing from the district attorney. Bob handed a USB stick to the cops. His dash cam caught every minute. He gave me a nod, big hand on my shoulder. You all right, Gray? I lied and said I was. Next day, everybody knew. Reporters called it the bridge ambush. People came forward with stories about phony fines, threats, intimidation. The DA opened a criminal investigation. Emails turned up. Receipts. Karen and her crew had bought radios, uniforms, even gas for the van, with HOA money. Karen called it a misunderstanding. The DA called it organized coercion. 3 months later, we're back in court. This time, I'm just a witness. Karen sat at the defendant's table. No blazer, just another face in the crowd. The prosecution played the audio, her voice brittle, desperate. We collect tonight. He used the bridge. He pays. The jury didn't even bother to take lunch. Guilty on conspiracy, intimidation, unlawful detention, and more. 6 years. The rest of the board got between 1 and 4. The HOA was dissolved, accounts seized, money redirected to restitution. When the judge read the sentence, Karen stared at the table, lips pinched so tight you'd think she could erase what she'd done by holding her breath. I didn't smile. Didn't need to. Next morning, I walked down to the bridge. Mist curling off the water, air finally clean, untouched by SUVs or threats. I carried a little sign I'd made myself. Black letters, plain and clear. Public bridge access, protected by court order. No HOA jurisdiction. Nailed it right into the railing, each strike echoing in the quiet. Berta showed up with coffee, Bob with his old camera. No words, just there. The sun rose, golden over the creek, light catching on the nails, on the water, on every little thing that finally felt like it belonged to us. That bridge, once a line in the sand, now stood as proof. Some things don't belong to any board or committee or any Karen. They belong to the people willing to stand up and defend them. As I walked back to my truck, wind picked up, rattling the sign like applause. You don't fight HOA tyrants with anger. You fight them with patience, with truth, and with the kind of stubborn hope that never asks permission. That's what I learned. That's how you win. So let me ask you, if you were standing at that bridge, would you fight for what's right, even if the odds were stacked against you? Or would you step aside, let someone like Karen decide what you're allowed to call your own? Tell me in the comments. Let's hear your story. And if you've ever gone up against the bullies and won, well, pull up a chair. This is your kind of place.